So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and begin here. We're going to welcome to the Office of Information Security presentation of how to spot a spoof email. Okay, again, it's given by the Office of Information Security in awareness of Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Always remember, do your part and be cyber smart. Let's go hit the next one. All right, the overall agenda. We're going to hit an intro, then we're going to hit NIST SANS, incident response steps. We're going to go over basic email identification steps, how to analyze email headers, and also how to protect the enterprise, how to protect compromised users. Okay. First thing, introduction. I'm David Mendoza Jr. I am the Chief Information Security Officer for Texas A&M San Antonio, and I have my team on board also for the Office of Information Security. You have Vay, Nelly, and Melanie. Let's go ahead and get rock and roll. All right, this is the way. NIST and SANS, every kind of we have guidelines given to us on how to prepare for incident response. And in this case, a spoof email or a phish email is considered, can be considered an incident. We don't know if it is yet, but we have to normally go through a basic steps in order to identify if this is a real threat and what to do with that threat. Now, if you see NIST and SANS, they're two governing agencies and our bodies that kind of give us cybersecurity awareness information and help on how to provide these guidelines and how to execute these tasks. Now, first thing, you see they're pretty much similar. They give different flavors, but we'll go over the main definitions of what each step does. Now, the first one is preparation. In preparation, of course, this is where you identify, security policies. What exactly is happening? What is your role and what do you do? In preparation, it also identifies what tactics and tools you use in order to identify these threats, in order to, handle these threats. And also, this is where you develop guidelines on what you should do, or even playbooks on how to react to certain types of threats or incidents. Of course, next step is identification. That's a big one. Identification, a lot of things happen there. First thing, we have systems and people who actually are identify or are alert agents. Okay. Now, when I say identify, it could be anything from a SIEM, meaning a system like a notification, an alert, or most of the times we use for stuff like this, like spoofs and phishes, we use a lot of humans. Humans are our main kind of notification agents, or, depending on what you're calling from and where you're from, our squeaky wheels, they're our best fillers out there for the network and for the overall network environment. Next step is kind of, in NIST is combined, but in SANS it breaks it down: the containment, eradication, and recovery. Of course, containment means you isolate the threat, eradicate, get rid of the threat, and recover. You bring the user back to the service prior to the attack or to the incident. Make sense? Excellent. And finally, lessons learned. Now, lessons learned is when we sit back and you kind of think, you kind of reflect on what just happened, and you kind of try to evaluate, hey, this is what happened. This is what we did. Could it be improved? Yes or no? Now, in the IT world, of course, two of our weakest areas is always the beginning and the end, the preparation and the lesson learned, because the preparation involves, developing tactics, developing playbooks, developing how to attack certain things. And the lesson learned is a cleanup. Of all these documents, they all should be living documents that should change according to your tools that you use or the environment or the threat that happens. All right. So any questions on that? Oh, excellent. Let's drive on. And remember, again, this is the way. I'm a big, Mandalorian guy. So yes, this is the way. Now, going to the next step. Basic email identification steps. Now, this presentation is divided into two parts, kind of the basic, everyday user that anybody could hack and anybody could knock out. And then we're going to dive a little deeper. Hopefully with some of this, with the screen sharing issues, I'll be able to go in and actually help and actually do some more viewing. And you can see more what I'm doing, but we'll see how it is when we get there. But until then, we're going to go ahead and talk about FLUB, basic email identification steps. All right, now FLUB-T was brought to you by the great Lionel Casson. He showed me this kind of acronym, and Nelly kind of expounded on some components of this acronym for me. Now, when I'm thinking FLUB-T, here's my threats. I know you're thinking, hey, man, that's a lot of stuff to know. That's a lot of stuff to think about, a lot of stuff to remember. Yes, it is. But, I like to always personify my threats, Flub T. So to me, who is Flub T? Flub T is somebody, just it's dirty, nasty, trying to give me the bad goods, give me the nasty. That's what the Flub T is trying to do to me. Now, when I'm thinking of Flub T, somebody greasy, somebody smells and kind of fishy. You know what I mean? So when I personify him, that's what I think. So when I'm thinking of Mr. Flub T, the first thing I do with Flub T, okay, well, in an email address, the first one I look for in the F is the from line. In the from line, do you know this person when you receive an email? Is this person normally sending you emails? Are you, my air quotes, cool like that? Do you have that type of relationship where they're going to send you an email with the content that's provided? Okay. And also within that email, look for disjointed URLs. All right, what are disjointed URLs? In the from line, in an email, normally, coming from, like, let's say Google, you receive an email that says, hey, I'm Google. And in the email address, in the URL, it says, hey, I'm Google at googlechromeupdates.net. Would Google really have that kind of Google Chrome updates.net? I don't think so. The next disjointed example would be the Microsoft. You receive, things from Microsoft, hey, you have a problem with your email, you need to reset your password, and then you look at the email, the URL, it says Microsoft at Microsoft-helpmenow.com. When you're looking at it and you're thinking about it, that just doesn't feel right. If it doesn't feel right, probably because it's not. All right. So the next thing is in L with Flub T, he said, in L, thinks of links and attachments. In links, inside the emails, in the body of the email, sometimes people send you links and also attachments. Now, if it's somebody, who you don't know and you kind of really got a bad feeling about it, don't click, don't download. Always think before you click, okay? Put it in context. If a stranger emailed you something and it looks fishy and also they send you links and they give you attached, it's probably fishy, all right? So now for the U in the Flub T, when evaluating your basic email steps, let's go ahead and think of urgent request, unrealistic. So in the body of the email, it's an urgent request. Hey, you got to help me now. I'm in a bind. Can you send me some, some money? Can you buy me some gift cards? It sounds kind of unrealistic, but it has happened and people have fell for this, this kind of scam in the past. All right, now bad English. Now for B and Flub T, bad English and grammar. All right, these are two things that kind of go there. Of course, you're talking about bad English, poorly written, poorly, run-on sentences, periods where they shouldn't be, weird and kind of, misused terms, placement. That was brought to me. Nelly brought a good point to me. Some of these words, they kind of go off topic and kind of use other words because that's meant for like a spam filter bypass. People use different kind of weird words in order to avoid the filter keyword search. All right, that's something to think about. And finally, the T is too good to be true. Inside the body of the email, if it's too good to be true, then it probably is. We've had past email attacks here in Tamusa where it says, hey, we have a job for you. In this job, you have to run errands. And each errand you get, bam, I'm gonna give you $500. Does that sound really good, real true? It sounds a little too good to be true to me. So I would be real wary of that. Now, when you add up all these Flub T up, it kind of doesn't make sense. Automatically say, hey, this is spam, this is a fish. Either send it to the, to the security team or just go ahead and mark it spam from yourself. Okay. Now I'm gonna give a quick practical exercise on this. Now, Vay, can you make sure that I'm sharing my screen? Because this thing has been a little crazy. So let me go ahead and new share. Let's bring this up. Behind the scenes action right here, guys. I'm opening my email. I'm going to the a minute email. Okay. Now I'm going to do a new share. And let's see that pops up. And here it is, sharing. Excellent. I think I got this down, team. Awesome. All right. Now, quick disclaimer here. This is a real live email that we received. All right. Now, Mr. Craig Elmore, he did the Flub T. He said, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and evaluate. And automatically he said, this does not look right. So we sent it our way. Okay. Now for the check on learning real quick, Flub T, what's the first thing we're gonna look at? Mr. Flub, of course. Who's it from? Oh man, Craig got an email from President Mattson. Okay, great. You know, automatically my ears are perked up. I'm like, oh man, you know, President Matson sent me something. Okay, great. But then I look again, look at this disjointed URL. Does President Matson actually, is she part of the exec.server, .com? I don't think so, so that's part of F1. That's the first failure that I'm seeing. Then I'm looking at 2, the subject line, a minute. Okay, that's kind of weird. Okay, let's suppose, this person is doing it. All right, let's look at the bodies of the content. All right, Craig, please advise if you're available at the moment. Regards, Cynthia Matson. All right, we're looking at, there's no links in the content. There's no attachment. So boom, we kind of get that. Now, urgent, unrealistic. Honestly, when I put President Matson and also emailing Craig and the way this did it, it's kind of unrealistic, the way how short it is. And also with the unrealistic, you kind of has a little lack of content. So that could be a way that how they're getting past the spam filter. And also here, look at the bad English, bad grammar, the period at the end of President Matson. Yeah, I don't think that's true. I don't think that's the way it rolls. And I'm pretty sure she won't do that. So automatically based on Craig, I agree with Craig. And this is a bad example. Well, this is a good example of a fish. Of a spoof and spam. Okay. So based on that, when he sent it our way, we go ahead and we acted accordingly. All right. So any questions on that or on FlubT or anything we have? Okay, I see somebody raise their hand. All right. All right, I'm going to go ahead and
I'm sorry, David. There was a comment.
Okay.
This email also was sent from her mobile and not from her inbox.
Okay, awesome, great. Another good point. Sent from mobile. I would kind of worry. I'd kind of worry that too. All right, makes sense. All right, great. All right, now let's go ahead and get back to the presentation. I think I'm getting good at this navigation stuff. All right, cool. All right, that was a quick example of that. Now we're going to get a little more technical, okay? They kind of warned me about this. Oops. We're far from the shallows now. Okay, I love Lady Gaga, you know what I'm saying? I'm a little, call me a little softy, whatever. But yes, we're going to dig a little deeper. We're going to go far from the shallows now, all right? This was a basic, FlubT that anybody could do. Now let's say we're going to get a little more in depth. I'm going to take you into the deep, all right? Not too deep, but deep enough. So let's go ahead and geek out on this. Now, how to analyze email headers, okay? That's the next step. Now, of email headers, exactly what are email headers? All right. Now, email headers are the path the email took to the receiver with attributes assigned to it. Now, sounds great, but what does it mean? Okay. In the whole process of it, you in the big process of things, you're considered the MUO, the mobile user, MUA, the mobile user, mail user agent. You as a mail user agent, you're submitting the email. You're submitting the email to let's say Google, and in the email itself, that's a mail subscriber agent, MSA. You kind of do your stuff. You type up the email, and that MSA, the Google front end device, it says, "Hey, is this a valid email? Are we sending it to the right place? Yes, no." And it says, "Okay, great, all checks got. We're gonna go ahead and send it to the MTA." The MTA is a Google Exchange server, mail exchange server. Okay, that MTA is basically the server that sends the mail back and forth, the real email traffic. And when it goes to the MTA, as soon as it hits that, it says, boom, I stamp that. I stamp and I say, hey, this email came from me, and I put the different attributes on it, which we'll go over shortly. And then from this email, from our local Tamusa email, let's say I'm sending from Google, now I'm sending to Tamusa. Then the Google email server sends it to Tamusa Exchange server, which is the other MTA. As soon as it receives it, it says, boom, I stamp you with my attributes and information. And then I go along to the email server and I pass it on to the user. That's kind of a footnote, kind of simple, as simple as we can to not get too in depth with the process. But that's the basics of how email headers are and how it works for the email flow. Okay. Now inside the email header, what am I looking for? I'm looking for the SPF and the DKIM. SPF is sender policy framework, and the DKIM is dynamic key. And I forgot the other two, the other two acronyms, INM. But with DKIM2, it's a newer technology. It's not used throughout, but SPF is. Okay. Now, what these two are, they're the global phishing protection standards. What they do is they identify if the email is from the domain it's claiming to be. So basically, when I'm sending email out of Tamusa to the real world, I have an IP on that Tamusa exchange server, email server. And it says, hey, this is my IP, this is my domain. And then the machine, matches it up. It says, okay, is that domain really linked to that IP? Yes, no. It says yes, boom, ding, ding, you pass. Okay. So that's what that's for. And that's the protections that are standardized throughout on the internet. Now, inside the email headers, the other things I'm looking for is the X originating IP, the SIP, or the connecting IP, or the sender IP. These all three are kind of synonyms, kind of the same. And also the next step is I'm looking for it was received by, and the other three things I'm looking for is the mail to, the X sender, and the return path, or the reply to. Okay. Now, each of these things that identify different things. The SPF DKIM identify, hey, I am who I say I am. The second bullet, say, is like, hey, this is where I came from. This is my public, address where I came from. Received, of course, who received it. And the reply to is basically who this thing is supposed to return, how it's supposed to go back. All right. Now, don't get excited. Don't get carried away. I'm going to go into this. I'm actually going to show us some examples, but I have to, of course, give you the baseline, knowledge foundation in order to knock this out. Okay. So at this time, is there any kind of big questions? I see some numbers popping up. Okay. No questions, no hand raised.
Oh, we do have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
About the email that was sent to Craig. If Craig would have replied to that email, would it have captured any information, or does it simply acknowledge Craig has an active account?
It acknowledges Craig has an active account. In that particular account, what they're doing, it's like a recon attack on the email, initial recon. They're out there looking for bytes. Most of the times, when you reply back to them, automatically they know they got you, and then they'll go a little further in depth on what they want and how they do. But in that particular email, I don't remember. I actually looked into it and said, I think the reply to, yes, I did look into it, and the reply to was actually going back to that admin at exec.com. I forgot the actual email address, but it did reply directly to that admin account. So they wouldn't have got really attacked by anything. It had just been you conversating with somebody you don't know. That's what that was.
I also wanted to add something.
Go ahead.
That emails like this can also, even though they don't seem to have any links or images, they can have tracking pixels in them, which will send back information even if the email is just opened.
Okay. Yes, that's true point. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. Cause I think MailChimp does that and other kind of stuff to see if they, if their campaign was open, shut, read, stuff like that. Good point. Thank you. That's Melanie, by the way. She's a security analyst.
Hello.
All right, let's move on to the next slide. All right, now we're getting to the good stuff. Now, how do I view the headers? Now, I'm gonna give you 3 different ways how to view your headers. Now, of course, in our environment, this is from the perspective of I'm an investigator and I'm doing my individual investigation. This is not how, we have different tactics and TTPs on how we do it in Tamusa, but this is for your own personal knowledge. So in case you want to do your own hunting and just, you're just a curious person. Now, there's 3 ways to do it. Now, we support Outlook and Outlook 365 and Tamusa. Google, again, is for personal investigation only. Don't send me your Google stuff because I'm not going to look at it. That's not my job, man, kind of thing. So, but in the Outlook side, now, how do I view the headers? Simple enough. Well, let's see if it's simple enough because I'm not sharing my screen. Let's go back to the a minute person. So let's go to new share. I'm going to go look at the a minute share. All right. Now for this is Outlook on Outlook, the Outlook client on your box. First thing you can do to look up email headers is you're going to hit the file, you're going to go to properties, And in properties, is going to come up with the internet headers. Boom, here it is. You are going to Control A and you're going to copy. And you're going to copy these internet headers, and I'm going to show you what we can do them in the future, okay? But this is where the internet headers are for this. And now you got me curious too. No, I'll stop. Okay, we'll look at that later. So that's how to do it on one. All right, now let's look how to do it on Outlook 365. Okay, let me see here. Okay, can you see my Outlook 365? Yes, yes. All right,
Yes.
I'm gonna go into Frank Duff. Can you see me into the Frank Duff email?
Yes.
All right, great. Now inside this Frank Duff, ooh, Minor Ingenuity, something they're doing at Webinar. But okay, if you look here, they have the 3 dots for more actions. You're gonna click here. You're gonna go down to View, and in View, you can go into Message Details. Message Details, same thing. You're gonna Control A, Control C, and you're gonna copy the headers. Too easy. All right, now I'm gonna go to Google. Can you still see my screen or no? Can you see the Google email box? Oh yes, I think you can.
Yes, I we see the Gmail. Mhm.
Awesome, I love it. All right, we're on Gmail, okay? This is from one of my blogs, Tim Ferriss. Same thing here. You click the 3 dots. You go to Show Original. And in the Show Original, it shows you all the email headers you could copy to. I like Google because look what they do. They give me a pass. Excellent. All right. So that's how to view the headers on each of them. Okay, I'm gonna take you back to the presentation. Okay. Okay, great. Okay, now we're here. Okay, now I got the email headers. Great, good job. Now what do I do? All right, so now we're gonna copy. There's different ways how to view a header. I'm gonna give you the easy way first, and then I'll show you the hard way because why not? I think the easy way is easier to do. Let's see. I'm gonna take you back to Internet Explorer. Now inside the Explorer, one, I'm gonna go to the tools that we're gonna use are the Microsoft Email Header Analyzer and the MX Toolbox Email Header Analyzer, okay? So I use Microsoft because we're a Microsoft shop and it breaks it down pretty easy. Now look at here. Instead of doing this, if you paste it to Notepad, this is what you receive. And yes, I could kind of examine that. This gives me all the tools I need in order to do an investigation. But look at that. That's kind of crazy. You know what I'm saying? I like my data kind of organized, easy to look. So what I do here, I go to Microsoft Header Analyzer and I click Analyze Headers. And boom, look at how it comes up. It gives me a standard on what I should look for. It kind of gives me a good little example on on how it should look. It makes it easier for me. It's a lot easier than looking at this section. Am I right? Okay. And look here, look at the return path to that person who asked that question. If Craig would have responded to the email, it would have went to admin@execserver.com. So yes, but here it is. The other one I like to use is MX tool. I'm just giving you tools. I mean, this is the way, that's the purpose of this is the way. There are many ways to do the same job, but it's kind of whatever you feel works best for you. Okay, give me some information. And this is how MX tool email analyzer looks. You know, same thing, it breaks it down into a more readable format versus, you know, you go into Notepad and because if you go to Notepad and you copy this information, could you do an investigation off of this? Yes, you could. But, you know, and my thing, why? It kind of goes cool. It's kind of cool to say, it's like, yes, you know, back in my day, I analyzed email headers via Notepad, which is great, which is cool. But if there's a better way to do it, more, you know, a streamlined way to do it, why not use the tools? All right. Excellent. Oops. Sorry. Now I'm going to take you back to the presentation. Okay, so that's now how to view the email headers. Any questions on that? No questions? Awesome, I love it. All right, now I have the email headers. I have them out in things. Now, what tools do I use to investigate? Okay, I use a couple tools to investigate different aspects of the email headers. I use VirusTotal. What VirusTotal is, it's a website owned by Google, free to use. Now, if you receive a kind of sketch or even a file, let's say you get a file from me and you're like, man, that David, he's tricky, he's ISO, he's trying to get me, and I know it. So what you could do, you could go to VirusTotal and you could pull up, you could, if I'm send you a link, you could go to that link and you could drop that link and say, hey, is this link a known threat, or does it pop off a security threat? And you can also drop the file and it'll say, hey, is this file, good file or bad file? This is a good tool to know. I'll give you an example of this in a little bit. The next thing is who is. Inside the overall email header, who is document. Remember how we talked about that connecting IP and that sender IP? This is where I could go to identify is the domain registrar, when it's created, how old is it, who registered that IP, okay? And that's the purpose of it. Now, the creation date is important when you're looking at domains, because what people tend to do, what attackers tend to do, is they actually go out, they create a new domain, and then they go ahead and I'm gonna spam everybody. And if you see a young, a young domain and you're getting spam from it, that's always, or you're getting a young domain, that's kind of a red flag to pop up. The other two tools I use are BrightCloud and Talos. BrightCloud and Talos are domain reputation. They're basically cybersecurity sites that kind of go over domain reputation to give you a lot of good advice. All right. Now with this, we're going to go ahead and think about this, and we're going to go into practical exercise. Now, the first thing I'm going to hit, if there's no questions, we're going to do the email notice. Let me bring this up real quick. Share my screen. Email notice, and I'm sharing. Okay. All right. Disclaimer alert. This was a real attack that happened to Tamusa. Okay. Real attack. And we were able, this spam sent like a total of 900 emails to the environment. It was identified, thankfully, by our team of users and peers, and we're able to attack it, identify it, block it, and delete it. Okay. Now the first thing, everything starts with flub T, no matter who you are, what you are. When I'm looking at this flub T, what does Mr. Flub say? Okay, San Antonio, Texas A&M, San Antonio, excellent. The from, help desk at Tamusa. Awesome, great, I'm looking good. You know what I mean? Although this is kind of, this normally doesn't come up unless it's a, what's that word, outbound or from external address, but it comes up and it's still, it kind of jives with our naming scheme, help desk at Tamusa. I'm living it. Now, subject, email notice. Okay, cool. Now let's go into the content. Remember, that's only the first part of it. Now the content, what does the content say? If you read this over real quick, the big thing about the content is it's asking you to reply with your username and password automatically. To me, there are no links, but in this thing, unrealistic content. You know what I mean? This automatically, I'm going, oh my goodness, this is so unrealistic. Just to let you know, everybody who's on this broadcast, nobody is going to send you an unsolicited email. It's an unsolicited email to a user, to a customer, asking for their username and password and asking you to reply with that. Okay. And looking at this, automatically my spidey senses are going crazy. And I'm saying this is often a spoof with a big potential to go awry. Okay. All right. So now with that, I already got my idea saying that this is an attack. Now let's see what kind of attack. Now going back to the very beginning, now I need to do the email headers. Now, again, we have a different system we use, but anyway, we kind of get some of this information a little faster, but I'm gonna break it down to our level that we kind of talked about during the course. So first thing to do, I got to get the email headers. And the email headers, again, let me take it back again. I hit File, I go to Properties, and the Properties, I Control A and I copy. All right. Now from there, I'm going to go back to the message header. Hold on, I'm going to share my screen. Message header analyzer, sharing, and boom, I pasted that in. This is what I got to look at. First thing I do, analyze headers, boom. All right. Now I'm analyzing headers. Now, again, what I look for in the email box, it says first thing I look for is SPF and DKIM failure. Those are my big things I always go for. I mean, you go in any way, whatever best for you, but SPF. Now, SPF, Sender Policy Framework. Again, this is the internet standard to identify if this IP is really from this domain. So look in here, the sender IP, which is also the connecting IP, 69.27.200.93 from tamusa.edu. Okay, that's what it's saying. It looks a little further. It says, uh-oh, there's no DCAM because, like I said, it's a newer technology. You know, a lot of people don't have it. I don't, you know, DMARC none, but looky here. Computer off, fail, reason 601. I forgot what the reason 601 was, but it does fail. Also, in here, it says permanent error, domain of tamusa.edu is an invalid SPF. The reason why it is because as the administrator, I know for a fact the 69 address is not our tamusa.edu. They don't match, okay? So I'm like, all right, boom. I already know this is a spoof. All right, let's dig a little deeper on what else I could look for. All right, let's see. We're looking down, the connecting IP. If you look here, the connecting IP is again 69.569. We talked about the SPF. Now let's look up some reply to the X sender. The X sender, this is who the sender is. Well, this is who the spoof said the sender is. If remember that. It says help desk at tamusa.edu. But wait a minute, the mail to reply to, look at this, web.post@email.com. So what this is telling me, as soon as somebody does if somebody would have done a reply to this email, the reply would have went to webpost@email.com. And if we would have given the information, obviously they would have had our information. So automatically I'm like, oh man, this is a spoof. You know, in a normal case, what I would do, I would close this up and I would start trying to contain the threat and eradicate the threat. The containment, of course, is identify everybody who this email got sent to and put it in trash, delete, whatever. Eradicate, I would try to, block this person. But since this is a training environment, I'm going to dig a little deeper and I'm going to act a little slower. Now, remember what I said about here? I'm going to copy this. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go to, let's see, I'm not going to put a virus total because, here's virus total too. File, you got to put a file here, but there are no files provided, so we're good. URL, if they gave you a URL, you put the URL here and you'll scan it and it'll identify if it was here. But again, that's not the case. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to look up some domain reputation. I'm going to Bright Cloud. Can everybody see my screen on Bright Cloud right now? I hope so.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to put this IP. I am not a robot. Look it up. Excellent. Here's my threat analysis. Boom. It says this guy benign. And look, it gives me information. Where's this guy from? My top level domain. It's not risky because he probably, I probably don't have a lot of stuff, going out of this email exchange, but still, it's crazy, So what I do also with this, if you would go back, sorry, I have to keep, my one thing is blocking another. Now let's look at here, look at this domain. What I could do, I could copy this domain and I could look up, get domain information about the domain from Bright Cloud. Let's see. Oh, I don't think Bright Cloud would do this, but oh man, captures. No, I'm not a robot, guys. What am I looking for? Boats? That's a boat. I think that's a boat. That's a boat. Don't you hate those captures? I'll tell you what. All right, now let's look up. Trustworthy? Debatable. I say trustworthy, but look here, it gives you information here. It doesn't give me no who is information. You know what? I want to find out who this guy is. So I'm going to open another tab. I thought I had who was up here. I'm going to do, there's a bunch of who is stuff. You got whois.com, you got Aaron, you got all sorts of things. So I'll just go to Aaron. Why not? Get more information on this guy. Oops, nope, nobody. You know what? I think I went to the wrong place. Oh, it's unavailable. It's not giving me no information. Duh. Always make sure you're in the right place when you're doing lookups, guys. Who's registered? It's old. This is just the people who sent the information. This is not the actual sender. But if you ever need to report somebody, this is where you would go report them. Look, you'd abuse.go.a.com. You would say, hey, I received this email from this guy, and you supply all the information, and you would say, hey, block this guy. This guy is doing nefarious things in your network. So I'm sure if you do that, in this instance, because it's an older, I think, oh, actually a telecommunication thing. So I bet you if you do that and you identify as a user, they'll be able to tell you, hey, this guy is a bad guy and get him off your network. Okay. So that's one thing on how I would attack that email notice. Now, any questions on that particular event or attack? Any questions, comments, or concerns? Kind of cool, right? It can take you deep with all those different headings in the message header. So it's interesting. Okay. Well, no questions. All right, let's go ahead and move on to another example. We'll hit one more example, and then because of time running short, we'll close it out. Well, I'll move on after the second example. Okay.
There is one question about the message header, the red lines that were underlining the times for each hop in the message up at the top in the analyzer, if that indicates an issue.
Let's go and look. Let me look a little more. Red lines. Be honest with you, I don't think so. Unless it's a delay time, I'd have to look that up. That's a good question, and I will get that answer. I'll find it out. But it looks like it's a delay. So unless a delay is unacceptable out of SLA, that might be the issue. So I'm not sure on that question. That's a good point. But again, delay is just saying how long does it take to process from this fake user. Also, if you look at here too, that's a private IP address. You can't really find it. But if there's a delay, that might be the reason why it's red. I'll have to look that up. Okay. Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay. Also, another thing that I've got to look up too, here's the spam score. The spam scores normally it should be higher, but for some reason it's doing, and it's normally between 1 and 9, but this is a negative. And the reason why we think it's a negative is because help desk at tamusa.edu is allowed. So I guess the machine, the header just says, hey, this is allowed to come to here. So it's known. So I'm gonna go ahead and allow it because it's safe. Well, it views it as not fishy, but that's just, these are all different. These are all individual data sets that cumulatively they'll give you more information, and cumulatively you'll come up with a better idea. But if you go off of one, if I just went off of this, I'd be automatically saying, hey, boom, you're good, let it fly. But because we did a cumulative investigation and based off all the data we received, it kind of gave us an idea on this is a bad spoof, okay? Or this is a spoof, I mean. Make sense? Excellent. Okay, so I guess I'll go into, let's go into the Filex one. And then we'll be pushed on. We'll probably drive on after that. Let's see. Okay, no, I had to close some windows real quick. Hold on. All right, let's open up Filex. Awesome. Now I'm going to share you the Filex email. Now looking here, this is actually this is a real thing. coming to my CIO and it's saying, hey, I'm not going to do the link. We're going to look at this. It's coming from our CIO. It's saying, he's asking me, is this a real file? You can see on the bottom. We're going to go to the headers and looking at it, it comes from system. Okay. But did it really come from system? That's a question. Control A, Control C. We're going to go ahead and verify. I do the same steps. Now I'm taking it to the message analyzer. I'm going to clear my old thing and I'm going to place the headers here and analyze headers. All right, great. Now this is a good. All right, first thing.
Hey, David, before you go forward, the question came in, says, what about the angled brackets that surround the sender's email address? Is that an indicator of a spoof?
The angled brackets around the email address. Oh, this one didn't
On
have
the sender's email.
On the sender's email.
Mhm.
This was an external email address, and that happens during external email, meaning when I say external, I mean anything that's not tamusa.edu. A majority of the time, that's kind of a that's kind of a telltale. And this didn't have the extended. It just had the email sender name at tamu.edu. So it is external. So the possibility of it being like having the angle brackets, yes, it is possible. And also, like, we get some, this is a side note, like whenever we're blocking things too, like let's say it's from Google, like I get a fake email from, ciso@gmail.com, when I'm going in, we know that's not really my address. We know that that's not the case, but you got to be careful. If you decide to block that, you don't want to block that, block Google Gmail, because of course, that whole Gmail, they're using just the Gmail overall to do an attack. But if you can't block, or you could block Gmail, but it would not be a good day, because that means nobody would be able to send from that Gmail IP to internal. So there's some considerations we're doing when we're doing remediation or containment and eradication. Okay. So hopefully that answered your question. I answered your question. So now we're back here and we're looking at this email 148 from Tamu. Decam pass. Okay, great. But Tamu. Okay. So automatically, boom. I'm thinking this is a good email. Also, it does have a temporary error, but this is the DNS timeout. But again, we have a pass all right here. I look here, the return path is Garland. Then the, where's my SIP? Sorry, connecting IP. Let's look at that IP. Is this IP one of our IPs? Let's find out. Oh, I gotta go, hold on. Can you see my screen right now? I'm in Bright Cloud.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Bright Cloud. You could go to two, I could probably go to two different places here. I could go to Bright Cloud, or I could go to, the who is. So let's just go here. Oh, interesting. Maybe it's not. California. Okay, let's do again. Let's look up who is. Find the right spot again. Okay, look at this. Who is? Okay, this is good. I like it. The reason why I like it is because it's Proofpoint. In case you don't know, Proofpoint is another email security agent, and I bet you anything, Proofpoint is used by Tamu. Okay, so I'm happy so far. I'm happy. Now let's go ahead. The other step, what we could do is finally, you could try to contact the user, personally. But in the end of this investigation, all was good, all is fair, and we're able to identify that this was a good and valid email, and I forwarded it currently. I forwarded to Bill and saying, hey, you're good to go. Okay. Any questions on that? All right. Time's running a little short, so I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the next one. Okay, so now that we identified, we did the investigation, so, and then now it's time to do our containment, that's all part of the investigation, is all part of identify, investigate, we identified that, hey, this guy is a spam. So now as an admin, this is totally switching hats. This is now, I got my admin hat on, I have rights to do this, and I'm actually working for Tamusa, okay? So inside Tamu, the first thing you would do, you would have a email protection agent, and we use, again, we're Microsoft Shop, no secret there. So inside the Microsoft Shop, inside Microsoft, I would go ahead and block the sender. In Microsoft 365, they have like a anti-spam inbound policy. And inside the policy itself, it's just a set of rules, like an access list that says, hey, if you are this, then I do this. Okay. And inside this email spam inbound filter, I say, well, if you are, admin at exec.com, then I'm going to block you. So in the future, anybody who tries to use that email address coming to us is not going to be allowed. Okay. It's going to be blocked. Now it works. Yes. But how easy is it for another user to go around and create another email box and send again? Okay. That's the kind of stuff that we're working against. It's like, it's like that game Space Invaders, where we have our little thing and we just have missiles coming in all the time. This is what a network or a security defender does. Just constant battle, constant fight. The war is never over. Okay. So that's what we would do. We'd block the sender. Inside the other things too, we have an option to block the DNS pointer. What the DNS pointer are, our DNS PTR record pointer. What it does, okay, we all know what DNS is. Like we all say, when we go to Google and we just type in Google, but behind that Google, it is an IP address, okay? And that IP address is, 8.8.8 or whatever it is, okay? That's what it is. But in this case, in that instance of the bad spoof email, if you see in my slide here, the pointer record is mailbekatniss.com, and it also has the IP address next to it, okay? So what I would do in there, I would go to my tenant allow block list. It's another access list that says, hey, if you are this and you are this, then I do this, okay? And in this instance, I'm going to block them, okay? So with this, it says, all right, if you're coming from mailbekatniss.net and you're coming in as, help desk at Tamusa, at edu, I'm blocking you. Boom, automatically. And that's how I block it. And that's how I eradicate the threat. Now with this instance, there are two sides of the attack, okay? This is me protecting the enterprise. Now, what if that user replied back to the email? But before I go next slide and move on to that, is there any questions on this?
No.
Awesome, thank you. So now, how do I protect the user who replied? Now, how to protect the spoof compromised users? Did the customer divulge any username password? So if they would have replied, did they reply and then they give you their username and password? Yes, no. If the email had a link or a download, did they click the link? Yes, no. And based on their answers there, our playbook would probably be like, hey, you should reset the password. Hey, you probably should scan your system. At the time, and when we're walking through them how to do it, we're also giving them little tips. When you with our admin hat on, our help desk hat on, we're saying that, hey, I'm giving you customer training. Hey, again, let's go over that email again. Let me show you, let me talk about Mr. Flub T, and we go through all the steps. And then again, we offer help, because now we're in the help desk, security analyst role. We're trying to train our users, because again, we're a small, we're a small group. And the only way that we could really maximize the protection is by education and information. So that is the main I guess, thing to tackle as a security team are just overall cybersecurity awareness. Okay, so that's how we would address the spoof compromised users. And if now, finally, after that, of course, we would go on to the next in the slide. It'll be okay. We eradicated the threat. We saved the day. Now we're supposed to go back and we're supposed to, of course, do the lesson learned. What do we learn about this? Anything new we could do? And we update our policy. Okay. Now after that, hey, are there any questions pertaining to this example?
Real quick, David, before we close out, I was wondering if you could take a moment and kind of briefly show where users can report a phish or a spam within their Outlook and their webmail.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Great way to close the day. Let's go ahead. Let me pull up something. I will go here. Let me share this. New share. I will do world leaders. This is in Outlook. Okay, this is in the Outlook app on your PC. I look at this cyber scoop. I'm tired of getting cyber scoop. I'm going to report as. Again, you have a chance to report it as phishing. Of course, phishing is at, links, anything like that. Or, somebody who thinks you're doing something bad, links, suspected phish, spoof, whatever. We go here. Now, if it's just spam, junk mail, meaning solicitations, the kind of advertisements market as such, junk. But this is how you identify it here inside our Outlook. Okay. Now I'm going to show you how to do it in O365, the web client. Hold on. Let me go to my web client. Boom. In mail. There's two ways to do it. I'm going to dismiss you. I'm going to show you easy way because I like easy right here. And when I pull up my webmail, I port here, report message as junk phishing. I click this and I say, oh, what are you? You're junk phishing or not junk? This guy, I like Frank. So I'm not gonna do it. But if I were to promote him as junk, boom, I would put him as junk and it erased my email. Now I'll just leave it at that. I'll just show you the easy way because I showed you both. You might get confused, but and too much information is sometimes bad. So is that good, Vay? You think that I did a good job teaching that?
Yes, that was awesome. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Vay. I look for Vay's approval constantly. Okay. Now, with this, are there any other questions, comments, or concerns? Awesome. Well,
there is one. Are you going to be posting the link to the recording?
yes, I am. I am going to post a link to the recording. And as soon as I download it, we're probably where I'm going to post it. I don't know yet, but it is going to be posted and we are going to share it with our team amongst the university. And when it does, I have key people who are looking for that link. So when it's out there, I'll let you know. And if you want to, you could email me at iso@tamusa.edu if you want a copy of the link just for notification. All right.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. And if there's nothing else, I guess that'll conclude my brief today. Thank you for attending. I appreciate it. I appreciate all the support. And remember, October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Stay alert, stay alive, do your part, and be cyber smart. Thank you. Bye-bye.